How do you do? My name is Stephen. I'm one of the boots here at Wheaton Labs. I'm here with fellow Nick. He is a guest here at Wheaton Labs right now. We are in the middle of a Wolfati project. And it's not building anything, but it is very, very useful for the project. The idea behind these are that they are window quilts, and they're going to help conserve heat overnight. One of the projects that Paul has thought up for the Wolfati structures is the idea of ATI, which is an acronym that stands for Annualized Thermal Inertia. The big thing to remember about ATI is that it is how you can use the structure itself to hang on to heat that is gathered in the summertime and it's slowly released over the winter, so that you can cut down on how much wood, for example, you would use to heat your home, heat your Wolfati. Wolfati is it's not an underground structure. It is a structure that has an earthen roof and earthen walls. I always describe it as like, okay, imagine if you had a cabin and then there was a big burrito of dry earth on the top. So anyway, I'll talk about that probably some other time, but Paul has plenty of other resources about the Wolfati building design and so on. What Nick and I are working on this week includes this stuff. And these are window quilts that again are going to be used to help maintain heat during the coldest parts of the winter. So during the day you have the windows open and these are rolled up very much like curtains. But then at night, when you're bedding down to go to sleep, and you have a fire lit, for example, you want to hang on to that heat. So you lower these window quilts down from the ceiling or from the top of the window area to cover up the windows. And along with some other things that we have installed into the windows, you create a pocket of air, pocket of still air, so that the temperature is maintained on the inside of the building, and there's the least amount of heat possible is leached out of those windows overnight. So here we are at one of the larger window quilts, and we had stitched this together as a way to address one of the other problems we had seen. So over at Allerton Abbey, which is where these window quilts are going to be installed, there are several windows that are separate from one another. There's a little spacer in between. And so what had been done in previous versions is that they had separate window quilts for each of them. Considering the heat retention issues and how we wanted to more elegantly and more simply approach that issue, we said, well, why don't we just go ahead and connect all of those window quilts together as much as we can. And so that's what we did here. This was originally two separate window quilts. And all we did was, again, we had to hand stitch them together because they were so thick. Our sewing machine couldn't handle it. We had attached two of the window quilts together, and this is now one massive window quilt. It actually covers up, in this case, it covers up 3 separate window panes for one section of the windows at Allerton Abbey. Now, one of the other issues in our next step of this project is that you can see these long rows with these little wooden washers on them. Well, these were stabilizers. It was basically a big bamboo rod or a dowel rod of some kind that was threaded through here, sort of like the tent. You know, if you ever had a tent, a pop-up tent, you would throw those tent poles through these little, I want to call them gussets, but it's probably not the proper word for it. Can't recall. Anyway, you thread those posts or poles through here, and that adds rigidity to your structure. Well, we need to do the same thing for these window quilts. We want it to be a little bit more rigid along the sides, so not only it cuts down on how much it waves around, but also whenever we use the drawstrings, which is what these little wooden washers are for, when we use the drawstrings to pull up the window blinds out of the way, these rigid poles here are going to help the window quilt maintain its shape, and then it will be drawn up and out of the way all at one time, instead of a droopy little like a drapery or something like that. This is more of think of it as a fabric panel that covers over the window overnight. that's the general idea behind these window quilts.
All right, there you go.
Cool. Alright, so this is the latest iteration of the window quilts here at Allerton Abbey. This is modeled after what we have over at the Fisher Price House kitchen. And here is the drawstring cord here. I'm going to lower this down. Now that end over there sort of catches on the bunk, so I'm going to go ahead and move things around a little bit. There we go. Alright, so we're going to let it down. And comes down like it ought to. It overlaps the edges of the area. And then when we want to lift up the window quilt at the start of the day, here's how it works. And it pulls it out of the way of the window so we have as much light as possible coming in during the day.